Right, so It Welcomes Derry is now done, and what a phenomenal TV show that was. That is probably my favourite TV show this year. I know we've had Stranger Things and everyone's on about that, but I think this was better than Stranger Things so far. Obviously, we've still got more of that to come, so who knows how good that's going to be when it kicks off. But Welcome to Derry is a gem. It was kind of like, it was on my radar. I really wanted to see it. I kind of didn't have much mega high hopes, although I was kind of interested. I love the book. I love the sort of the legacy of the book and the stories from the book. I've always loved that, and I've kind of wanted to see that. And I always thought I'd do it in a film version like later on. And we got the two part 1 and 2 films a little while ago. But again, it didn't delve in as much as I'd kind of want it to. This show gives us that delving in with the backstory of Derry and all that. And they've nailed this show. I mean, I'm not an emotional person when I'm watching TV shows, films. I don't tend to get emotional. This show got me. That episode 7 last week broke me with that Richie's death scene. And again, it even got me a little bit in this one, harking back to that. So we'll try and get into like what happened in the show and talk about that as well as sort of like where they went with it. Let's just start with opening the show. That inside the school was horrific, and it was so well done that Pennywise, obviously we see that last week he got uncaged. The stupid military destroyed one of the pillars that was caging him in, and Pennywise awoke and was like, I need to go, I'm free, I can get out, I can do whatever the hell I want now. So he then goes to get these kids, he attacks the school, but you see the mist rolling through town, which very arcs out to sort of that Stephen King's The Mist as well. It's another book of his that was adapted into a film with one of the most horrific endings you'll ever see to any movie. So the mist is rolling through town, you see people running scared, plants are dying, it gets to the school, then you see Pennywise, the fingers walk across the counter and click on the old tannoy announcement saying that like all the kids need to go to the auditorium now. I might know. Well, someone facing him. It's not just a shadow. All the kids need to go to the auditorium now because they've just been told to. They go to the auditorium. All the doors lock. I kind of had a Carrie moment as well. I think they are just subtle nods. It's enough of a tea to make you think, oh, Carrie, as soon as it happened, all the doors lock in the hall. Next thing you know, the headmaster's on stage being puppeteered by Pennywise. I thought that was brilliant. I love that. His little puppy's like saying like that, and then Pennywise bursts through the thing and he rips the guys, and that was another gory scene, like the eye gouge and ripping the head off, throwing it into the crowd, and you've got the patty cakes there, and everyone's there. Next thing you know, dead lights, and everyone's under the spell, and they're rising up. You know, they do. He's obviously deadlighted the whole lot, and you get this kind of like Pied Piper moment where he's got his little Pennywise wagon thing, his little circus wagon. I don't know what you call it. Circus tent, not a tent, circus caravan, like a gypsy caravan. He's got that, and all the kids are sort of floating behind, and he's playing a trumpet, and it so harkens back to that classic Pied Piper of Hamelin story, where obviously the Pied Piper leads the children away to their demise. And it was so well. I was like, wow, that's a little nod to that. I thought it was great. And they also kept Pennywise with the blood. I thought he'd lose that at some point, but the entire way through the rest of this show, he's got the blood from there down completely saturated. I thought we'd lose that, but they kept it. I don't know why they kept it. It was kind of off-putting a little bit. They say about that outfit that didn't ring true. It looked good, and obviously they're going to sell merchandise with that on it, but I was kind of like, I wanted to go back to the non-blood form of Pennywise. I don't know why they kept the blood on there. But anyway, because he's just an imagination thing, so it's not like it's a physical thing. Anyway, let's not digress too much to that. So then we go back to where we see our kids, like our little group of kids, our little losers club, as we will, are up sorting out their little base. They've got a high water tower in town thing, and they look over and they see the mist, and they run down. There's all these like Pennywise has put up loads of missing posters, all the kids, almost to let them know like I've got all the kids, sort of thing. Like he's playing with them, even like what's it? Ronnie says he's playing with us. Again, he's trying to like scare us and stuff. And they see all the missing posters, and they see the one of Will, and they're like, we have to do something. So they go legging it to the school, see the massacre that's happening at school, see the head teacher who's just body still on the floor with headless missing. Then they find their head somewhere else, which is brilliant as well. So now they're all like, okay, so we've got to do something. So then they decide they've got the dagger, they're going to go and like try and stop Pennywise somehow and try and save Will. That's all they want to do, is try and save their friend. They've already lost Rich, sorry, and they don't want to lose another one. So they're going after try and save him. So they get in a milk float. They find a dead milkman, and they do this classic moment where it kind of made me laugh, because we all kind of worked out that Marge is going to be Richie from It Chapter 1 and 2's mum. We clocked that a little bit earlier on. It's the same name, Margaret. Also, there was the fact that there's a few little hints that obviously the guy that saved her was rich. So you kind of like, maybe she would have named her son after him, that sort of thing. And we kind of had the hints of that. But I felt in this episode, they put the character of Richie's humour into Marge more, because she became quite feisty and quite comical with stuff she was coming out with. So when she sees the milkman dead on the floor, she sees him and she has this sort of like, milk float, milkman, milk float. She's like, we'll take that. And she gets in it. She's like, it's like, do you know how to drive? She's like, well, my uncle did it. I kind of watched him once. And she's got very much the Richie Tozer mannerisms in this episode, I thought, more than she had done recently. So it was kind of nice to see that as well. And that was where I'd literally confirmed in my own mind, it's definitely going to be the mum of Richie, because it was just the way it was happening. So we get that happen, and they nick the milk float and they go driving for the milk float, and they're kind of like driving mentally. And there's a moment a bit later on as well where Ronnie's going, drive faster, and she's like, I'm in a milk float. What do you expect? And they're driving along, they hit a speed bump, they come crashing out of the milk float. There's a big crash in the milk float because they hit this speed bump, the milk float crashes, and the dagger gets like knocked out the thing. And we get a very much Lord of the Ringsy Gollum ring, Frodo ring moment as well, because we've had this already with Lily, because Lily's become obsessed with that dagger to the point she won't let it go. It's like my precious, she will not let go of it. And the dagger goes, so they all drive out the car, they see it outside. I think Marge goes to grab it and Lily's like, no, Marge, and grabs it. And that's when the kids realise that this dagger has got a hold over Lily and they need to do something about it. And then Lily gets fingered it, she goes bolting off and runs off into like God knows where. They'll chase after. They sort of have a moment where they sort of realise that it's the dagger that's causing this, and they manage to get it off of Lily, and then Lily sort of comes round a bit after it's like been removed from her, and like Ronnie's like, no, she's not you, this is not you, and he sort of wakes her up a little bit. And Marge is like, bloody camera. Marge is like, look, we need to take turns holding this, and it kind of had that Sam and Frodo moment up on Mount Doom where they're sort of like they're trying to get up the mountain and Frodo, Sam is like carrying Frodo. It had a kind of that ring to it where it's like, I'll hold it for you, Mr. Frodo. It's that same idea, and I like they did it with this as well, but I did keep going back to Lord of the Rings when I was watching it. So that's kicking off. Now let's go back to the adults now, because the adults have got their own. It's one of those stories where you've got two things and they're coming together. So you've got the kids' little story happening over here, and then the adults have their story and they're coming together. So we get Major Hanlon is in his room at the army base. He's phoning his son, no answer. Puts the phone down. Then the phone rings again. Picks it up and it's Pennywise, and he's basically saying, "I've got your son. Like tough. I've got your son. They can't do nothing about it." Gives him a bit of thing, and he's like, "Oh, he smashed the phone." Then he remembers, "Oh, Dick. Maybe he can help." Goes to see Dick. Now Dick, after having all these dead bodies come at him, after he spoke to him in the black spot, he's had nothing but dead people talking to him. It's too much for him. It's too loud. He can't take it anymore, and he's about to do the thing. He's about to like end his suffering, if you want to call it that. And obviously Major Hanlon gets there, manages to kick down the door and talks to us, and literally there's no stopping Dick. He's had enough. He's going to do something until Hanlon says, he's got my son, he's got Will. And Dick's like, bang, back into gear. I need to save this kid. So then Dick, even though he's not in any state to do it really, because he's just destroyed, he's like gets in the car and they drive off the base. And of course, the military then find out that Hanlon's escaped off the base, because they kept him under sort of like arrest almost, like because they didn't want him to get out and tell people. But the general's like, oh, it's all right, don't worry about it, because like he can't do nothing about it now, because the general unleashed it. As we found last week, that's been his plan all along, to unleash Pennywise, to cause havoc. And then from that havoc, people will unify because of a disaster, which, as I said in last week's thing, it's kind of, it makes sense because it happens. Like if there's a disaster, people do unify. So the best villains are the villains whose plans make sense to them. Like Thanos, compared to Thanos in the Avengers, because it's probably the most common one to do it with, where he's not been a villain for the sake of being a villain. He's been a villain because he's trying to help. In his head, wiping out half of every living creature will create more resources for the ones that are left, benefiting them. And it's actually a way of like, the ones that disappear are better off out of it, and the ones that stay will benefit from the other ones disappearing. That's what Thanos is playing with. It's the same with this general. He's like, even though there's chaos, people are going to die, but the ones that are left are going to benefit because everyone's going to come together. Much like during the Blitz, like World War II during the Blitz, all that tragedy going on, people dropping bombs on my grandparents and stuff at the time. people bonded together. And I think the country had never been more unified than during World War II and that little period after World War II, when everyone was kind of unified, everyone was sticking together. So I think that was the general's plan. So it kind of made sense, even though it's batshit bonkers. So obviously the general's then like, don't worry about it. But as soon as he finds out that Hanlon's taken Dick with him, he's obviously realised that, oh my God, that could be a problem. So then we leave the army for a little bit. So we've got so Hanlon then goes to Rose. Harry knew his wife was at Rose's house, I don't know, but Hanlon goes to Rose's house and finds his wife and the projectionist who's on the run there, and Taniel, the Indian guy there. And he's like, well, I've got Dick, they've got our son, we need to do something. And the Indian woman's like, well, you aren't going to do anything because Pennywise is too strong. There's nothing you can do. However, Dick might be able to do something. Like, Dick might be able to find this dagger that we need, because we can replace the pillar with the dagger. So Dick's like, well, I can't do anything because my head's all messed up and like I can't, there's too many dead people. And the Indian woman, she's like, Rose is like, there's a herb, like a root drink that you can take that will help cut the voices out. It will help quiet them down. Then you can concentrate and find this dagger. So Dick takes this drink and he just starts going, like, almost instantly, he's like, whoa, he's off on one. And then he can focus and he can find the dagger. And he realises where Marge, Lily and Ronnie are. And they've got the dagger. So he realises where they are. Then they're about to get to a big load of ice. He sees them on like ice. And Rose is like, oh my God, that's near the thing. Because Rose has basically said, if they can get the dagger buried before it gets to this weird old tree, this dead tree, then it will be okay. But if it gets past that, there's no hope, it's out. But they can still use the dagger to sort of pinpoint. They need to bury it by this old dead tree. And it happens to be near where our kids are, the dagger, which is kind of like ironic and quite lucky, really. So they've got the dagger, they're by this thing. Obviously, they're kind of following Pennywise anyway, because the girls were following Pennywise was, because they're following a blood trail left by the cart. Because obviously Pennywise has been eating a few of the kids. We don't know which kids he's eaten, but he's eaten a few of the kids en route to where he's trying to get through this gap to try and get out of Derry. Because they open that little gate. So he's trying to get to the gate, basically, to get out. So Marge and that are on the ice, and we know they're sort of there. And then we've got our adults now bombing it to that area as well. Dick's still trying to hold focus. And like Rose works out, we ain't going to have enough time. We've not got the time to get to the kids, get the dagger and get plugged in. And then it's like, well, maybe Dick can hold him off, because Major Hanlon remembers that Dick at some point had got into Pennywise's brain. So he's like, when they were in the helicopter. So he's like, right, you need to do it again. And he's like, oh God, if I can, like, and the woman's like, no, you're going to have to try. So Dick's now going to try and enter Pennywise's brain to try and stop him, to slow him down. While this is happening, the kids have caught up to Pennywise, and they find the trailer, because you basically got this little cart rolling along, and behind it is a trail of these dead lighted kids that are just sort of floating behind it. They run down the trail, they see Will, who's at the front of the trail. They start shouting up at him, trying to get his thingy, and then the cart just stops, and the door opens, and Pennywise comes out, goes to attack. Ronnie grabs the dagger and just holds it up, and obviously Pennywise can't get past. But now he's stalking them, because of the mist is still around. He's stalking them through the mist round, trying to separate them, obviously. He managed to grab Marge and drag her out. She like out. And Pennywise is like tormenting Marge, talking about the future and how her son, Richie Tozer, and he calls her Marge Tozer, and she's like, Tozer? And then he's like, yeah. And then he starts showing the picture of her son, like the missing picture we saw in chapter 1, that Richie finds the picture of himself missing, and he shows the same poster, and he's like, look, your son, he tries to kill me. Because we find out at this point as well that Pennywise doesn't live a linear timeline. He's kind of everywhere at once at the same time. So time doesn't affect him the same way. So he's seen his own death, and he said his death is like my birth, which was interesting, because that phrase alone, I think that's going to play into more Welcome to Derry's as we go the next couple of series. I'm sorry, my ears do tend to look like gremlin ears every so often because I do this. But I could catch it, I caught my eye. But yeah, so we know that, so she says like it's her son's going to kill him. So Marge is like, what the hell? Like, now knowing that she's going to have a son, it's her son that's going to eventually kill Pennywise. So she's like, oh my God, like that. And then Pennywise, but then if I kill you, there's no sun, and he goes in for the kill. And as he jumps, it's a great scene. He jumps and just freezes, teeth open like the big like that. He's ready to go, and Margie's like, and then it freezes. And you know, I was like, oh, it's Dick, isn't it? Because he's obviously got into the head. And then we go back to the van, and Dick is there. He's like inside Pennywise's head, and what he's done to trap Pennywise, he's got Pennywise as if he thinks he's Bob Gray again. Like they're actually like all the people from Bob Gray's past, like his daughter and the circus performers and the ringmaster, all around go, oh, you hit your head really hard, like Bob, like, and Pennywise like, I'm not Bob Gray. And like, yeah, you are. And then, oh, you must hit your head really hard. And it's all sort of like thinking him. And Pennywise is really confused and doesn't understand what's going on. It's really like messed him up a little bit. So he's trying to work out what the hell's going on. Can't understand why everyone's saying he's Bob Gray. Can't understand why he can't do the things he does. Grabs hold of the ringmaster, picks him up, but then the ringmaster just sort of bats him off. So Pennywise is really confused at what the hell is going on. And it's because Dick's using his powers to sort of contain and control him. So then we get to the point of the army officers. They see the kids. They go running towards the kids. Say they need the dagger. Say they need to put the dagger in the tree. So they get the dagger off the kids. Daniel and Dick go running towards trying, because they're going to both put the dagger in. They know that the dagger's going to try and stop that from happening, because the dagger doesn't want to go. He wants to go home. That's the bit that kind of confused me. How the pieces of the asteroid want to go home. They don't want to stay. So they're trying to get back to Pennywise. That bit did throw me off. I didn't quite understand it. I'm guessing maybe it's because the ship that had Pennywise in it, which is the asteroid ship that contained him, maybe it wants to become one again, or maybe it wants to be with him so it can go off somewhere else or escape. I don't know. It did confuse me a bit, that bit. I'm going to have to sort of rewatch it again to try and work that out, see if it comes out a bit more, much the whole series again, to understand that bit. So we now sort of head sort of a big sort of like battle climaxy moment. So we've got the two running. So Daniel and Major Hanlon are running with the shard to the bit, and suddenly gunfire, bang! You see like Major Hanlon gets hit in the stomach, sort of goes down, and Daniel, you see, I forgot hit in the head first. We got hit in the neck by a bullet, and it's the army have turned up to help Pennywise out. So Daniel's down, bleeding out, and Major Hanlon goes over to him, holds him, says like that, and they're sort of pinned down by the army. The army really can't see much because there's still the fog and stuff. So as they go down, they become invisible to the army. And he's like, he bleeds out, and he's like, oh my god. So Major Hanlon's still got the dagger. And when he gets shot, obviously Will's in the van, and he jumps out to try and go save his dad. So he runs over to him, and he's like, Will, you need to get this dagger to that bit there, because obviously he's been shot. He knows he can't do it himself now. He says, you need to get this dagger to there. And the other kids go running out as well and chase after. So all the kids are there with Will, and it's like, we've got to get this dagger to there. So the kids decide, Lily, Ronnie and Will decide they're going to try and get the dagger to where the tree is, because they now know what they've got to do. So they go off to do that. Their parents come running out. So obviously like the other adults in the van come running out to try and like help the kids when the gunshots are going off, but they get pinned down by gunfire and can't go anywhere. So that's why the kids are sort of about to do it by themselves. And the army come over, and the general's like, right, you go sort out Major Hanlon. We'll find the dagger and we'll let Pennywise out, and everything will be as we planned it. But then the Major sees Pennywise still frozen by Dick, just like frozen still, all face open. So obviously it reminds him of what he saw when he was a child. So the general goes over to Pennywise by himself. So, and then the army go over to Major Hanlon. They've got them all down, pointed guns at them, so they can't move at all. And then you've got the kids that are running over towards the dagger thing. And the dagger's starting to try and resist them. So they're trying to push it forward, he's trying to resist them. And Will's guy, and he sort of feels like he's got to come back. He starts turning almost to run back. And like, they're not, no, they all grab hold of it. And so the three of them together are trying to hold this dagger and push ever that little bit slowly towards the tree to plant the dagger. So first of all, why don't you plant it where you are, because it's still within the loop. But then I realised they're actually in water, so obviously it'll float away or whatever, and they can't risk that. So it needs to be in soil, because Rose had said earlier that soil's like a conductor for the stuff, so that's why it's doing it. So that's why I thought, so why don't you put it in the water? But then I realised that no, it's not going to work like that. So they've got to get across the ice to the bit where they're at. So that's what I want to clear up for myself more than anything. So yeah, so then we've got the kids doing that, and then we go back to the general who's with Pennywise. And the other army lot, half of them have gone to try and get the adults. Of course, they grab hold of Dick, throw him, and it sort of jolts Dick a little bit. And you see Pennywise in the little dream sequence suddenly sees the ringmaster's hands now black, and he's like, oh, you tricky little, like, the Pennywise like, you little sod, you've been tricking me, sort of thing. And he's like, and the ringmaster's like, I know what you're talking about. And then Pennywise, like Scooby-Doo, takes off the mask, and it's obviously it's Dick under the mask as the ringmaster. And he's like, oh, no. And then the army military throw Dick again, obviously it wakes up, and then Pennywise wakes up and comes out of the dream state. I actually thought they were going to go down the turtle route when Dick took that medicine, by the way. That's where I thought it was going to go, but they didn't go down that route. But I thought they were going to go to the whole mind and the turtle and all that stuff. They never went there. So anyway, so Dick's then like, now broke consciousness with Pennywise. Pennywise is back to himself, sees the general, and the general's like, you're free, go do it. Like, we've planned this, go. And Pennywise is like, okay. He goes to walk past the general. He stops and he's like, I know you. And he goes back, like, I don't forget a cent. And he remembers he was the kid from like way back in for his last time he was out with Rose. And he's like, I never forget a cent. And then the general's like, no, what are you doing? And then the next thing you know, Pennywise does the general's face. And then Pennywise is obviously free to leave. So then we get this really amazing climatic moment where you've got the kids that are trying to fight their way against the magnetic pull of the dagger to plant in the thing. So they're struggling this way. You've got Pennywise, who's quite comically running, like, like jokingly running, like he's going to get out the gate. He runs past like everyone that he sees. He's like, the people trying to shoot him, like Major Hanlon's trying to shoot him, runs out of bullets, and you sort of see the head pop off. Then you see like a Jack in the Box clown head pop out. Then sort of a half deformed Pennywise head comes out, and Hanlon's gun don't work. Rosie's trying to fire at him, doesn't work at all as well. And Pennywise is kind of down, but as he starts to get up, he starts to sprout wings like a demon. And this imagery is phenomenal. And NECA need to make this toy. I know NECA are going to make, they make all the toys, don't they? They've already done all the faces of Pennywise toys. They've done the Bob Gray toy for this show. And I bet they're going to do the Half-Blood toy at some point, or the blood-covered Pennywise at some point. And they're going to do that winged bat demon one, because that looked epic. So he's like flying up, and he's going to get the kids. He's coming down to get the kids. And then you get a moment, again, this is where this show gets me. This show got me last week because of Richie dying. And when you see what happens next, I'm getting now, the tears, you can feel your eyes start to burn. Like, oh no, like, where they're all sort of on the ice, they don't know what's happening. The adults are sort of in a section, and suddenly the Rose just turns. It's like where the car's on, just looks there. As she knows there's something there. With that, Dick then turns, and because Dick can see it, you see the old tribe woman from the Indian sort of like ancestor, who tried to stop it before. You see her with a bear head thing on. And from behind her comes Rich, and you're like, oh. And Dick does this funny line where Rose is like, what can you see? And Dick's like, a miracle. And you see Richie run to his friends. And he sort of helps them with a hand on the dagger. It's got me again. Bloody Richie, I swear, that kid, gets the hand on the dagger and he helps push it into the tree. Obviously that forms the fence that blocks Pennywise in. So all the things fire up. It gets dramatic, like fire sequence with like stuff shooting in the air, a laser fire shooting in the air, and then Pennywise is like, whoa, and he gets like smashed backwards, hits the floor, and all the kids turn around and they're looking at Pennywise. He gets up and he starts to like, all the faces start to peel back till it reveals Pennywise again, and then he sort of like he says something, but I can't remember what he says. He says something like, and then disappears, sort of like disintegrates, and then you see the dead lights flying around, and they zoom back obviously to the well house for him to disappear and go to sleep for another 27 years. So they've kind of defeated it in a way and stopped it escaping. So that was the point of this show. It was kind of like, how are they going to do this where they obviously our goodies can't win, but they kind of do have a victory because they trap Pennywise again. So then it's like, obviously the curse of Derry gets lifted, all the fog recedes back, and the kids look at each other, and they all look at each other, and they say, like, did you feel that? Oh, I'm getting again, this fucking show. This is supposed to be a silly little horror show, and it does this to me. And he's like, did you feel that? And they felt like Richie pushed, and they all said, yeah, we all felt it. And they were like, it was Rich. And you're like, oh my God. And then, so then they're sort of happy. And then we sort of get like an epilogue sort of moment now, where the battle's been won, but we kind of see, it's kind of like the tie-up bit to tie us into the next installment, which obviously chapter 1. So we get this sort of like epilogue section, as I said. So we get the Hanlons at the Indian woman at Rosie's farm. And she's like, look, I'm going to set up this farm now without Daniel being here because he died obviously from a gunshot. I can't do this like on my own, but you guys would be great to have this place because they're ready to move off. A Major Handler who's been honourably discharged, if he keeps his mouth shut about everything that happened in Derry, he was told, look, you can, like, he's about to go, but then like Rosie's like, why don't you take over the farm? We need someone to help keep watch, to keep this stuff going, like, so we can stop this from happening again. And he's like, okay, we'll stay. And he stays. Obviously, Ronnie and her dad are off because obviously he's thought to be dead. He's wanted man thought to be dead. So they're off. So there's a nice moment where Will and Ronnie kiss and have a moment. And he's like, I'm going to write to you and I'm going to remember everything from this place. And I'm kind of hoping that maybe Ronnie came back. And Ronnie is hopefully, and Will got together maybe eventually. And that he's writing to her, she might have come back. And that will end up being Mike's parents. Obviously, we know that they later die in a house fire, which leaves Mike with his granddad, who's Major Hanlon. So that is an interesting one. I like that kept them there. That's how they kept him there. And then we go to the kids all talking, all the girls talking, and Marge saying about how like Pennywise had said to her about her having a child, and that time isn't linear. So maybe that's why he was going to kill me. And if time isn't linear to him and he can come and go in the past as he pleases, what if he goes back to kill our ancestors to stop us being? And then like Lily's then it's someone else's. No, then Marge is like, well, that's someone else's fight then. So then it's like, are they going to do like an alternate reality thing where they kill off, say, Marge's ancestor? So none of that ever happens. We get a whole alternate reality. Or is the next season going to be them going back to try and kill, during the whole Brady Gang massacre thing, to try and kill Marge's dad or mum? Is that the plan going to be? We get like a little Terminator-y sort of thing going on. I don't know. But that's kind of, it felt like they were nodding that too much to give us a little next season when we go back 27 years to 1935, I think it is, that we're going to see Marge's parents face this. Then I was like, oh, so maybe it becomes like a running family thing with like Richie, the one that ends it, it goes back. So I was really interested in that. That was an interesting nod. And then we get the awesome nod, which was Dick and Major Hanlon talking. And Dick's like, yeah, a friend of mine, I'm going to go here, there, and then we'll go to England, and a friend of mine's got a hotel somewhere, so I'm going to go stay at this hotel. And what harm can a hotel do? And you know that's the Overlook. And because they did that, I'm like, and I've said this in previous videos, I want them to do a Shining show. Whether it be Dick first getting to the Overlook and Dick's adventures in the Overlook, so what Dick experiences in the Overlook, leading up to Danny turning up, that will be amazing. And then even go on and do a Shining show or a movie, because as much as everyone loves the Jack Nicholson, Stanley Kubrick, The Shining, because it is a fantastic, fantastic movie, and it's just a masterpiece on its own. It's very different to the book in a lot of ways. It's got the same themes and beats and all that, but it's very, very different to the book. And so I'd love them to do that, like redo The Shining, but do it by the same people that have made this, so it fits in that world. Would be phenomenal. So that's what I'd love them to do. But even a prequel show leading up to The Shining, where it's just like Dick and like him getting to the Overlook, working and realising weird stuff's happening, maybe having some things happen in there. You could do whole stories in that hotel. You could literally have an anthology series based in that hotel, which I think would be a great idea as well, when they were expanding these Stephen King universes. So we get that story. Then we can go, so then we see that. And then we get, so when we find out all this is like all the smoke cell basically, then we get a little welcome to Derry, sort of like, you see the sign as Ronnie and her dad are leaving Derry, like, welcome, please come back again. You're leaving Derry, we'll come back again soon. And then it changes to sort of like welcome to Derry, and it just says chapter 1, because obviously the first season. Then we get a little flash forward. Or so we go back to the Juniper Hill, and we see Mrs. Kirsch, who's crazy, going on about all this crazy stuff like, oh no, kill my parents, you do that stuff. And they play a song which seems to calm her down. It's almost like a trigger that calms her down. Play that song for her, and so yeah, so we see Mrs. Kirsch in her little hospital bed, and the song brings her, sort of calms her down. And then it flashes forward to 1988. And we have her painting a picture in a little canvas, and she's an old woman now, very similar looking to Mrs. Kirsch we see in it, chapter 2. I don't know if it's the same woman or not. It looked very similar, but obviously she'll be a bit older now. But anyway, so you see her painting a picture. Suddenly you hear screaming from down the hall. So she gets up, walks down the hall to the other room, and we see a woman is hanging. And you see two people on the floor. This was brilliant as well. Two people on the floor, a man and like a younger girl over him, sort of holding him. And as like Marsh is like seeing all this, you hear a policeman say, yeah, this is Lilith Marsh. She's finally done it this time. And then you realise that that's Lily, who we saw obviously in the previous thing. She obviously does have a problem with mental health and stuff, so obviously it's got too much for her. You then realise that the people that are grieving this woman who's now hanging is Beverly Marsh and her dad. And he does this and shrugs her off and sort of catches her. And Mrs. Kirsch looks at her. Then Beverly turns around. It's the Beverly from It Chapter 1 and 2 as well. So they've obviously, and I think it's obviously, they must have used because obviously she's a lot older now. But I think what they must have done is they haven't de-aged her. They probably used a clip from a previous It, like from the scenes from It. And they've just sort of like stuck her face into that. So they've obviously done it that way. So she turns and looks at Mrs. Kirsch and she's like crying. And Mrs. Kirsch goes, don't worry, dear, no one ever really dies in Derry. And she just smiles, and it's just, and Beverly just looking at her like, what, like just fear and all kinds of emotion going on. And I was like, that's nice, because then it links, then we can just go, get out your DVD, whack on It Chapter 1 and keep going from there. Fantastic. This show has been a dream. This show has been perfect. I mean, you saw me a minute ago. It's got me, this show. Like I don't have this reaction to most things. There's not many things to do. Maybe Artex dying in Neverending Story maybe might get me. There's little things that will get me a little bit. But this show, like sitting there watching it, something fresh, something new, it hit me. Like the Richie's dying, him coming back to save the day as like a ghost. All that. This show was brilliant from start to finish. I love this show. The only downside I would say about the show is that the CGI, I'm still not a fan of CGI over practical as much. I think CGI should be used to touch up practical and work with practical, not replace it. So some of the CGI stuff is a little bit smooth, a little bit too nice, crisp looking. But then it's fitted with the vibe of the film, I suppose. Maybe if you're already doing that, you've got to keep going with the same style, because Pennywise is like that. Some of it was a bit ropey. But storyline-wise, the writing, the directing, phenomenal. Can't fault it. The acting as well, bloody good. Like, let's be honest with you, this show was believable. I didn't think I'd like the Dick character when I first started watching it. I loved that guy by the end of it. His character was brilliant. It worked. Oh, I forgot the funeral scene. So you see Richie's funeral, and Marge stands up and does this lovely little like talk about Richie and how like they only known each other for a little while yet, how good the relationship was. And Dick turned up at the funeral. He's at the back. And this is where you can see Dick's going to become the person he's going to become when we see him in The Shining, because he's at the back of the funeral, watch him. And he looks over, and Rich is there with an arm around his dad and an arm around Will, just behind them, like the ghost. And he turns around and looks at Dick, and Dick just sort of looks back at him like, all right, and watches. And then when everyone sort of gets up to walk away, you can see Richie and his mum are sitting next to each other, still sitting there. And Richard's got his hand on his dad's shoulder, and his mum like that, just like hold him like that. And Dick comes and sits down next to him, and he's like, he looks over at the dad and says, just so you know, that hand on your shoulder, that's your son. He's there. He's going to be there. He's always going to be there. And like the dad's like, because the dad can kind of feel it, in a way, because you see him doing that, like as if you can feel his son's hands there, but doesn't quite understand it. And he says to him, yeah, that hand on your shoulder, that is your son. And he's going to be there for the rest of your lives. And then the guy's like, oh, who are you? And he's like, I'm trying to work, and Dick's like, I'm trying to work that out. And it's that nice moment, because it's like, you know that where he's going to go, and the stuff with Danny and all that stuff, and how he's going to help people. That's going to be brilliant. So that's what I said before. I want the series, the Shining one. I want to keep going with this stuff and maybe branch out into other Stephen King things. Why not? From this, keep going. Make it a universe thing, you know. But don't go too mad like Marvel did. So yeah, so that was great. So yeah, so every actor in this has been phenomenal. I have loved the characters. I've loved the little side plots with it. This show has been as I said, it's a gem. It's an absolute gem. It's a gem we didn't know was going to be as good as it was. I had reservations and nervousness about it. I wasn't sure. I love the use of Skarsgård. Obviously, him not being in at the start of the series, and you're thinking, oh, where's he going to come in? The way they introduce him as Pennywise the clown, that clown form of it, and moving on with sort of, especially by the end of it, when he's in it a lot in these last couple of episodes. I thought it was brilliant. You didn't need him in those first few episodes. It was that whole, you're waiting for the anticipation. He's coming. And halfway through, bang, you see him in that real good reveal. And then his acting in this, Bill Skarsgård doing the Pennywise stuff, he went next level. I mean, he was good in the first two movies. I mean, there's always that thing like, who was better, Tim Curry or him? Very, very different performances, both good. But I think now Skarsgård has done this series and how he was immersed in it and the stuff he come out with, phenomenal. This show deserves every award, every bit of credit it can get. This was brilliant from start to finish. I'm going to buy it on DVD box set. I'm guaranteed as soon as it comes out, even though I've got like Now TV for a bit. I was only getting Now TV to watch this show. I went out and got the subscription to watch this show, and it was worth every penny to watch this show and do this, because even talk about it afterwards, it's getting me some emotion anyway. It's got to be some sort of therapy involved somehow to help a man cry, I swear. But yes, fantastic. Never ending. I might do a video a bit later on. I might watch the whole series again at some point and then do a video again about like, is it one complete like video about the show and stuff like that. See if it's still fit. Is this going to make me cry again, or is it just that I'm in the moment? Is this going to be a thing? Much like when I watch Never Ending Story, the second that horse starts to go in that mud, it starts to make me well up. And in fact, there is a movie I still to this day will not watch again because it affected me so much as a child, and that is Old Yeller. The ending of Old Yeller affected me so much as a kid, I've never watched it again. So maybe this will be one of those things where I watch it back again and think, oh, I don't really want to watch it again. It's going to fill with emotion again. Or maybe I'll sit there and won't care next time. Or maybe it won't be as good second time. Maybe it's one of these things where you watch it once, you're like, wow, and the second time you watch it, it's like, well, I'm seeing the problems with it now. I don't know, but they deserve something for this. I mean, Skarsgård deserves an award. All the kids deserve an award for what they did, especially Richie and Marge for that scene. They should get Best Scene of the Year award. That whole fight at the black spot should win something. If it doesn't, it's a crime. I know Stranger Things is coming out soon, so that's going to be the big one that everyone's going to be watching for. This, to me, the first 4 episodes of Stranger Things, this was better. It was better. Whether or not the next couple of seasons, Stranger Things scenes are going to peak it so that it wins my best TV thing of the year, I don't know. Because there hasn't really been much good TV this year, has there, really, to be honest with you? I've stopped watching TV in general. I just focus on movies now because time restraint on TV. And sometimes you start watching a show, you get 3 or 4 episodes in, you've watched like 3 hours of it because each episode's an hour long, and you're like, I'm done, I'm bored of it. This isn't great. And you turn it off. But that's 3 hours wasted. And to me, that's like a movie and a bit I could have watched. If you're getting watching a movie, you can watch it for 2 hours, and you're like, I wasted 2 hours, whatever. But I don't know, something about a TV show, now when I watch a lot of them, I don't feel as invested. And I do think a lot of it as well is to do with binge watching. I'm actually going to do a video at some point soon comparing binge watching to the traditional episodic 1 a week episodes, because I think there's a big thing in that. And this show has given me that sort of brainwave to do this episode, because to me, to try and spoil it for that future episode that I'm going to do on this channel, is that when you binge watch something, it's one and done and you're over it. But if you get a TV show and it's weekly, you feel like you're with those characters for longer and you're a part of it for longer. And that's what I'm going to talk about in a future video that's coming up as well, how like I don't think binge watching is any good, and I'm going to stop binge watching myself and start watching them episodic at a time. Even things like Stranger Things as well. Anyway guys, thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Were you emotional like me? Do you want to see a shining TV show? Are you psyched for the next series of Welcome to Derry? I cannot wait for it. It's going to be fantastic. I'm kind of sad we're not going to see these characters again though, because obviously they're not going to be in the future ones. We're not going to see these characters again, so that is a shame. That is a real big shame. We might see like Bowers and stuff like that as the younger selves, like the Bowers as in the Copper Bowers, and some of the characters we saw in Derry. We might see them as their younger selves during the Brady Gang massacre. I don't know, but we'll wait and we'll find out. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys very, very soon for future episodes. Obviously all my previous reviews on this show are up on the thing. There's like a watch I've watched a playlist of all the previous episodes. And obviously, any other stuff you want to see me review, let me know in the comments, and like and subscribe and all that stuff because it's fun. Anyway, guys, I'll see you soon, and have a great day. And try not to get withdrawal symptoms from this show. Bye. Now we can all listen to that theme music because that theme music is drilled into my head now. Oh, ribbon in my hair. Bye.